Hello and welcome to the Studio Demands It, an exercise in creative thinking where we will conceptualize, pitch, and craft a film or series based on the demands or stipulations from one of you listeners acting as a hypothetical Hollywood overlord.
Hypothetical.
As professional screenwriters ourselves and massive cinephiles, we talk movies all the time.
All the time.
And we'd like to believe ourselves capable of meeting any demand thrown at us. We will be your screenwriters for this episode. I'm T.C. Witt, and joining me, as always, is Jim Heavy Metal Burzelic.
Yeah, I liked that magazine.
You're pretty heavy metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the beard for it.
I do.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah. I see you've got like chains and rivets, like you dressed very like...
Well, one of the things our listeners don't realize, because we don't comment on it,
Right.
is I actually wear outfits. They're not quite cosplay that match every episode we do.
They are themed to the episode.
Even though I don't know what we're going to do ahead of time, or at least I didn't for a long time, I still would just sort of subconsciously always dress appropriately to the episode we would do.
And you have a real 80s punk asshole vibe right now.
I really do.
Like crappy Detroit 80s look about you. The spikes on the shoulders. I don't know how you did that mohawk with your beard. A beard hawk.
Yeah.
It's very heavy metal.
It is.
Hence why I see that's your middle name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, Jim, our listeners have given us demands from studios literally all over the world, and you listening now, you can send us any demand you'd like, and we will have to meet them right here on the spot. And when we reach the end of the episode, if we've done our jobs, we will have pitched a full script and story, meeting or even exceeding those demands, and when the end of the season comes, your demand could have helped us craft the script that is greenlit by the fans for our finale. Thank you to everyone who has been submitting. Keep them coming. What, are you changing your costume?
Yes.
What is this?
It's another character from the movie we're going to do.
Okay, all right. I don't... Oh, I see. It's you just have a tin bucket on your head. I assume you're dressing as a robot police officer.
No.
No?
I'm the big red robot from the black hole.
Oh, okay.
This is the black hole episode, right?
Boy. Well, let's find out what the... Well, let's go to the demand for the day. So today's demand comes from Cammie at LDT Pictures Limited. LDT? Limited? Is that what
no. Limited would be LTD.
LTD. Well, Cammie at LDT Pictures. Here we go. Is there a place for Robocop in the modern film landscape? The 2014 film would firmly say there is not. How would you bring Robocop to an American era where, pardon me, fuck the police is the anthem of so many people? You boys tend to avoid politics, so maybe you won't even do this demand. And maybe there's a way to do it justice. I don't know if that's wordplay, but I like it. To do justice to the robotic cop. How about a movie set in the 80s that goes full ham, like Kung Fury? Set it as a sci-fi future, like the new one. Whatever you guys choose to do, bring RoboCop back to the big screen. Love the show. Thank you, Cammie. Jim, RoboCop.
Robocop.
A new...
Robocop.
Robocop. The wicked future of law enforcement. So, I deferred to you because we watched the 2014 RoboCop in preparation for this. And we're both familiar with the original. It was one of those R-rated movies from our youth that... we shouldn't have been watching that, but
no.
It was when action. What is it? The action movies were made for adults, but they were marketed towards kids.
Yes.
But what's your overall relationship with RoboCop as a character, as a franchise, as this film?
I mean, I saw it when I was a kid.
Too young.
Probably. I don't remember seeing it too young. I think I may have been like 12 when I saw it. I did not see it in the theater.
No. The first RoboCop thing I saw was the TV show. Before I saw any of the movies, it was like a syndicated RoboCop TV show that I maybe like caught a couple episodes of and was like, meh, whatever.
Oh yeah, there was a TV show.
Yeah, and I didn't. Eventually, I saw actual RoboCop in college. Like
wow, actually, yeah. That TV show. Well, yeah, I forgot. I remembered the cartoon. But yeah, I forgot about the TV show.
Yeah, Peter Weller's only in the first 2 films, and then someone else played the part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so. I actually never saw 3. I saw 1 and 2.
Well,
I saw them in the era when we would order movies on pay-per-view and record them to VHS.
Classic.
So that we could watch them over and over. And RoboCop and RoboCop 2 were movies that I had that way.
Well, Cami makes a fair point that we tend not. This isn't exactly a political conversation kind of podcast. We tend to try to walk the line as best we can because this is all about entertainment, and we, as the studio would demand, appeal to the most demographics possible.
It's true. Well, there's also another reason, less about being politically correct. And more about just trying to be evergreen. If we start bringing up political talking points, the thing is, even the political sphere changes monthly.
Sure.
If we bring up I guess we could talk about what was his name? Coffee 2012, not Coffee.
Covfefe.
Covfefe. No, the guy with the child army. I'm making a stupid joke. I'm trying to bring up a political thing.
We're talking about Waco. We're going to talk about Waco.
That was a big deal. It was a crazy big deal. South Park made an episode about it, and no one remembers it other than to talk about how things pass.
Well,
now,
yes, we do kind of like place it in a specific era in talking about it, but I mean, the original RoboCop is a product of that 80s America, of the feeling of corporatization and police force and advertisement and entertainment and how that all kind of bastardizes itself into...
And it's totally unrelatable to the modern day.
Yeah, not at all. It's so outdated. And this, you had said before we started rolling, there's a good chance this is going to be our most political conversation, or at least socially conscious.
Which is weird to say that RoboCop was the one that did it.
Well, the thing is, and I think we agree on this, that first one is saying something. It is a satire, and satire not to be confused with just being comedy, satire being messaging. That it is very much trying to do what good science fiction does, which is like, hey, mirror, look, this is you. We are mocking the existence of you in this current society and political landscape. The 2014 one, we disagree on this, I think.
Well, because I've had a little bit of time to digest it now. The more I think about it, we watched it and it was like, yeah, this is sort of
it feels safe,
a deflating balloon of a movie, and in a lot of ways it is safe because it was PG-13 instead, and I was thinking about that as well. I think that's one of the failures of the movie. By making it PG-13, you're trying to make it digestible to everyone,
make it accessible to the kids that will love cool RoboCop.
Yeah,
that's not the point.
Yeah, maybe it's better that we've moved for the most part past the days of R-rated movies appealing to children. But I think by doing so, we've moved away from certain concepts being allowed to be edgier, if you will. By sanitizing RoboCop, you undermine potentially some of the messaging, and I think it was done for marketing purposes.
Sure. And sell to the most amount of people, and it's an IP. It's an IP that people recognize, and they'll get the butts in the seats. But giving it some teeth, especially in 2014, there was a lot to be said. And the 2014 one, you called this, like you pointed this out, and I think you're right. It's not a cop story; it's a vet returning from war story. That it's much more about a soldier coming home.
Like at a certain point through, that's what it felt like it should be. And I think there was basically an attempt to equate the two, which makes some assumptions that I think the movie should be talking about, but instead is relying on them by equating a cop working the streets, a detective, because in this one he's a detective, working the streets and having criminals turn on him and kill him is the same as a war zone.
Yeah, like it opens in Tehran, and we see the Ed 209s in Tehran, and it's a war zone, and that's what these robots are being made for.
Interestingly, honestly, think about it. It's not even a war zone. They say it is.
Oh, sure.
And it's Tehran. So, that's a name we know to be a place of turmoil.
It's dangerous there. Yeah.
But what we see is a street full of giant robots speaking in English, telling people to come out in the streets in a deep authoritarian tone so that they can be scanned for weaponry, which they comply with. And the rebels, the terrorists, the suicide bombers, literally they say before they go out, we're here to die on camera, not hurt anyone. It's really, honestly, thinking about it, it's really weird messaging. There's no bad guy. There's technically no bad guys.
In the whole movie, or in just
at least starting in that scene. Right. So in this war-torn area where the military is policing the people, they create no bad guys. These suicide bombers are taking a very aggressive way of doing it, but it's the equivalent of the Buddhist monks torching themselves in protest. That's what these guys are. They're trying to blow themselves up with blowing up the robots, but they don't want to hurt anyone. On top of the military now trying to police these people to keep them under the pretense of keeping them safe. But at no point does the movie ever say that either of those is the wrong message.
Right. And if you look at the original concept behind Robocop, that original script, it's very clear. I think it's very clear what this is bad, and this is why it's bad. Like the evil corporation and how dehumanizing they treat their product, like the consumers. It's all about make the money and control the people, control the messaging, and again, completely unrelatable to today.
And this one does that too.
The 2014 one.
Yeah, the 2014 one does it as well, but they don't do it in a way that makes them truly the bad guy. Like the whole time we know, they're really pushing the line. They're really trying to do something here that is not good. But at no point do they know that, acknowledge that, or like I guess at one point Gary Oldman says like this is a bad idea, and then they say, yeah, but do it. And then he's like, no, okay.
No. Yeah, there's no truly evil villain till like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. And that's kind of a problem.
Well, with that said, looking at what the 2014 one did...
the whole reason I wanted to dissect that Tehran scene and show honestly, how sanitized even that is, if you think about it, it's comparable to how they showed Detroit. We're never shown... We're like, aside from the couple scenes of organized crime of the villain
drug dealers,
that
gun dealers,
Alex Murphy is after, we never see rampant crime. We don't really know what's wrong with the city.
Yeah, it looks fine.
We get a quick little montage, I guess, when Robocop downloads all the crime happening. It's like, it's too much crime. I'm overloading with all of the crime.
Trust me when I tell you this.
Yeah, like aside from being told that, we're not shown that. We never see them drive through the street. Like the first Robocop, it may be ridiculous, and maybe that's why they tried taking it out, because like, no one's going to believe this. But you know what? We believed. Oh, there's a barrel fire over here? Yeah, this is a bad place. It's like post-apocalypse movies putting a deer in a city street. You know that, like, oh
man, this is messed up.
Things are messed up. You put a fire barrel in the middle of a main street. You know it's messed up.
It should look like the alternate 1985 that Biff controls in Back to the Future 2.
Sure.
The hellscape that is Hill Valley with barrel fires and cars on fire and cops chasing cop cars and heavy metal everywhere.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't remember barrel fires, but the opening scene of Predator 2. That was a great urban warfare scene that would establish, like, oh, this is out of control. But that ends up being another issue that I find interesting in Robocop.
Robocop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In the 80s one, the original one, cops, which also makes doing one now, it's an interesting problem. Like they brought up the whole fuck the police attitude. That isn't present in the original 80s. The criminals don't like the cops, but they're not supposed to, right? That's the other team.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be having fun out here committing crimes. And
Yeah,
the cops to stop it.
We don't like them. We want the cops to get them. The cops in the 80s, in the original RoboCop, are very put upon. That's the reason they need RoboCop. Is like, oh, we can't do this alone. Our cops keep getting killed. See, Alex Murphy got killed. We need something more. And there's other things. That was also the 80s before. Actually, I think the weird militarization of the police kind of started happening. But even in RoboCop, they have body armor, but it's still like it actually ends up resembling bomb diffusing armor more than
Hurt Locker style.
Yeah. Whereas 2014 does a good job of showing the militarization of the police. RoboCop is made to look like a scary military thing. Like literally, he says, "Paint him tactical black."
Yep.
And it's an intimidation thing, and what that does is it makes the cops less identifiable. We actually don't really meet other cops in 2014. In the 80s one, we meet them and they're put upon, and we primarily get there's 3 cops we get to know: the chief, Murphy, and Lewis.
Yeah. And we do have Michael K. Williams playing Lewis in the 2014 version, but he's there for exposition.
Yeah. The only cops we meet are all detectives, and then that's also a big difference. Going from beat officers to detectives, it really changes.
Yeah, because detectives are investigating. Yeah, they're putting themselves in danger, but they're not technically in immediate danger with the patrolman out there. If you think of I looked at something like End of Watch, the Jake Gyllenhaal movie with Michael Pena and him. We're in the squad car with them. We are in the heat of battle with them through Los Angeles, and it's a very raw, gritty film. And they're patrolmen. They are experiencing the dangers immediately. Yeah, moving them up to a detective, it excuses why he's able to go investigate his own death and whatnot. To go to your point of the unrelatability of our officers in 2014, we can relate to Murphy and Lewis and in the original,
because I think even with the sentiment of fuck the police, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like we as a society want to like cops, we want to like and we want to need them, but the problem is they currently they're in a position of such authoritarian power that they are antagonistic to the average citizen.
Yeah. And therein lies the socio-political conversation of the position that police officers are in, how they're perceived by different sides of the spectrum, and taking that atmosphere and doing a RoboCop now, therein lies the challenge. What is the and if you don't mind segueing into how we're gonna
actually doing the demands?
let's start pitching and start dissecting. But I think this was all great context, because it's not just about looking at the original and the 2014 remake and figuring out okay, how do you do that? It's not just the surface level of that. The 80s one existed in this Reagan era America and satirized it.
Yeah.
And the 2014 one existed in this Iraqi war, bring our soldiers home, militarization of the police being much more part of the conversation. Or 2023 now, as of recording, the perception of cops, it's a hot button issue, more so than it's ever been before. Now we often say this on the show, we're not qualified to. We don't have the experience of certain segments, discussing LGBTQ rights. We can be allies, but we don't have that experience. The experience of black people in America, of people of different ethnicities in America, their perception of the police is different than ours. Taking that into account and looking at ACAB and Blue Lives Matter as the two extreme sides of police, I think we need to take that into account.
Yeah.
And we can't just make a cool robot cop action flick, because I think that defeats the purpose of what RoboCop initially had done.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be a cool action movie. I think we kind of have to like find a way to either satirize America like that first one did, or just find a message in here. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
There might going back to the demand,
Mm-hmm.
or at least the suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
The studio suggests.
The studios.
There was the suggestion of putting it in the 80s.
Put in the 80s,
again.
go full ham.
I don't. I feel like that also kind of makes it toothless.
Yeah,
in a different way. It takes it out of being relatable,
mm-hmm.
and just says, maybe that's not true. Maybe there's a way to do it, but I'm very much drawn to doing one that talks about contemporary
Now, yeah.
Ideas.
Mm-hmm. Now, would you like? Let's approach this from another angle here, in terms of just the character of RoboCop himself. The idea that an officer or a man or a woman is destroyed and then rebuilt as a weapon and then released upon a city in turmoil.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cleanness in the 2014 one. It looked like an Apple commercial.
Yeah.
It had a Minority Report vibe to it, where I missed the filth
Sure.
of that 80s one. And sure, Detroit, I don't mean to, let's set it in Detroit, but like there's something of the grit and the grime and the grossness of it that makes me wonder if, should RoboCop be as sleek as he is? Do we want to go much more into like a cyberpunky, like gross element of it? Do we want to play with some body horror? Like, what's the look of this film is what I'm. Just as a starting
Sure.
point, do you want this to be sleek? Do you want this to be? Where do you think this is the right way to go? Because I'm more drawn
you mean
to see
RoboCop himself, or
Like
the movie overall.
RoboCop as a character, but then in the world he's in.
Honestly, I think invoking cyberpunk and noir,
Mm-hmm.
although maybe noir is overkill, invoking cyberpunk, I think, is the way to go. And so I actually think both. So in your and honestly, the original RoboCop kind of did this, and in your bad places, in the places of contention and conflict
Mm-hmm.
and crime, it's grimy and gross and dirty. And in your corporate places,
where the wealth is,
it's slick and clean.
Neil Blomkamp would be perfect for this.
Sure.
Look at District 9, Elysium,
I haven't
Chappie.
seen. I feel like Chappie actually touches on a lot of things we probably are wanting to do and talk about here.
Mm-hmm.
From the other direction, because Chappie's a cop bot turned into a criminal,
into
right?
a gangsta. Rasta, rip, skip it up. Yes, but Neil Blomkamp does a great job of that, what we were just discussing, of the wealth, sleek Apple products, right? And the grime is grimy.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of RoboCop I'd like to see. Is when getting in the muck, getting into the battle zones in the worst places.
Mm-hmm.
Well, technically, I think might go into some theming here. The quote-unquote worst places are going to be those disgusting warehouses, but in the grand scheme of things, the actual worst place is in the skyrise, in the multi-million-dollar office space that's clean as hell.
Yeah.
That's where the true evil is. That's where the actual threats are coming from, is the people in their ivory towers that need to be thrown out a window.
Mm-hmm.
So the sleekness that we saw in 2014, I say strip that away and let's have a very clear line between the upper and the lower.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Both sides need to be shown. And that's another reason that I feel like it's cyberpunk, is because it is. It's not just I feel like RoboCop has just been, in general, categorized more as general science fiction than cyberpunk, but it is cyberpunk, and thus I think, and I do keep saying that because I think a lot of the themes of cyberpunk very much serve the purposes of the story that RoboCop wants to tell.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people might equate cyberpunk with the neon look that you get in something like Blade Runner, and while that tends to be true, the tank girl kind of style, that more like Like
kind of. Well, and I think that's why it tends to not be considered cyberpunk, because it didn't have that slickness. It didn't have
glow.
the
neon.
Live fast, live hard, and leave a good-looking corpse.
It's like the mod kids in the Book of Boba Fett,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Spikes in the boots.
Spikes in the boots.
So like,
But honestly, it goes there at, like, starting with the second one. They start incorporating a lot more
okay.
of that kind of stuff. With the weird second RoboCop, he has a weird TV screen for a face, and there's a lot more like neon and fluorescent lights incorporated into the bad guy's hideout. And
Moving into Fifth Element territory.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious though, what kind of story do you want to tell here? I have a couple ideas that, just from seeing the demand as we've been sitting here talking about it, some ideas that I would like to throw out there. But let's start discussing narrative here. I think, yes, looking at the original, cop dies, rebuilt as a weapon, released on the streets. Sure, that's the simplest as you can make a RoboCop, right?
So the thing is, the things I'd like to explore weirdly sidestep that, and maybe I'm going too far away from the RoboCop formula here.
That's right.
I feel like
throw something on the table.
The 2023 issues that a RoboCop reboot, restart, remake, would want to tackle automation, AI and automation, right? That is a part of what RoboCop is supposed to be. Is this robot is replacing the cops. But I'm thinking, because one of the things 2014, I feel like 2014 was trying to be, this could be tomorrow, like a little too close to actually tomorrow, instead of putting it more in the future.
Yeah.
Despite having super awesome augmentations and bionics, it still felt very today. So I'd like to take things that are of today and extrapolate them a little further.
It's like
incorporate
the
them.
not too distant future.
Yeah, and to that end,
distant future.
someday AD. There was a, no, I'm not going to do the whole thing. So what if one of the themes is automation? What if the police have already been replaced?
Okay.
With full robots.
So we are in a not too distant future. The police have been replaced by robots.
Actually, that's only one step away from. So here's the full thought I had. That was the first one. And then I'm like, that's almost. It's not enough. The idea that occurred to me about an hour ago was drones.
Oh, so
What
people
if-
manning robots.
There
Okay.
aren't police on the streets. It's all drones. Drones that are
gamey.
authorized to arrest and, if necessary, kill. So it's now what I'd be interested to discuss is, are those drones manned by police officers back at headquarters, or are they automated as well?
Okay, that's
And so the idea being, however we get to RoboCop
Yes.
being on the street,
Yes.
the idea is actually, the police have this really bad reputation as not even being present, just these inhuman drones enacting draconian law. And so RoboCop is actually meant to put a quote-unquote friendly face back on the police force.
All right, I got a pitch for you. Just in this little moment right here, you kind of gave me a
Okay.
spark here. Okay, we're in a future where we have just rooms full of consoles, and our police are now individuals who've passed whatever police schooling needs to be. They got through the academy, and they literally sit at computers or in pods and control their robot counterparts out in the world. There needs to be an overall instructor or a chief or the captain who monitors these men and is essentially held responsible for making the call. So like I need authorization. And there's basically the conductor of
Okay.
the drone army that polices the streets. That's Alex Murphy. Alex Murphy is like the best of the best human who is responsible for the drones, and he is the one who is somehow killed or destroyed, and then they rebuild him as the face of this new police force that they're trying to create. So we know he's the best of the best. He used to control the drones. Well, the drones were problematic. He also represents that. This is just like coming off the top of my head.
This isn't feeling right to me.
Okay.
I like the idea of a beat cop. So maybe we don't actually do that with the cops.
Okay.
Well, okay. So extrapolating the future, as far as replacements go, the cops will be replaced last because they have a union to represent them and make sure that they don't get replaced.
What about everyone has a partner? It's the human Alex Murphy, police beat cop. His partner is Lewis, the drone operator, and they've never actually met face to face. Lewis works the drone that is partnered with Murphy. Maybe part of the protocol is that the only time to make it easier to work with a robot or a drone, the human officer is matched with their drone counterpart, and they only ever interact as drone to human. It's part of the protocol.
I'm not loving it.
Okay.
I want to come back to that because I think there are other angles. There's other things that I want to incorporate into our new version of RoboCop here. I think the proliferation of firearms is kind of ubiquitously present in the original. It's not really covered. Like they kind of do the same thing. Like, these organized criminals have military grade weaponry, which is the plot from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I think we touch on issue that we have now. Everyone has military grade weaponry.
Okay.
Literally. So one of the problems of policing in this RoboCop future that maybe they need to they're needing to address in a way that they're lacking in addressing is literally everyone is armed. They cannot distinguish who is a good guy with a gun nor a bad guy with a gun.
Just everyone. The NRA has had their way. They have.
Look at today. Everyone has a gun. How many mass shootings are there? And the police, as long as the police are taking out the right people, no one cares, and they're not. They're doing all their standing by,
mm-hmm.
or they're making these excuses, or they're like. I suppose I'm wearing my feelings on my sleeve here.
No, I think you're to have a future where, as I said, the NRA has their way, and like literally, and this could kind of verge more into the satirical nature of the first one, like Granny with a shotgun going to the store, like everyone is just packing heat.
And that's where I'm going. So one of the reasons that this is really I saw a video recently actually about 2 police officers who were killed, and they were killed by someone who had a concealed weapon as they tried arresting him, and it was a white guy on his property out in Georgia somewhere, and they were going to arrest him because he made a threat on someone else, and afterwards he said he doesn't know what he did, he just reacted. He likes the police. His son was a sheriff. He's not a bad person. And I feel like that attitude. America's in a weird place right now. We're real angry at. We think we know what we're angry at. Each individuals, we all think we know what we're angry at. I don't think any of us do. And we're all getting more guns and thinking we know what to do about it, and we don't. And that doesn't. And I don't know where this rant is going. I like this whole topic just is understandably frustrating. But I think that would be a very interesting and poignant thing for RoboCop to have to deal with, or the police in this future. In this future of future quote unquote of rampant mass shootings where people have insane firepower. And no regulation on it.
Yeah.
Granny's going to the store with shotguns.
Yeah, you're not wrong to be frustrated to tiptoe, like try to walk through the spine field. There's no tiptoeing through it because
but I bring up the two cops that got killed because I think it's really easy to see all of the abuse and to say, oh, they're unmitigatedly, and because the thing is, crime rates are down, or at least violence against police is continually going down over years, but it still does happen, and their job is still terrifying. And yes, there's also the notion of that's a part of the job. Don't take the job if that's not going to be a part of it.
Right.
And there's all these different things. It's weird. We kind of live in the '80s RoboCop future
that they suggested.
Yeah. So how do that whole notion of either satire becomes we were talking about, we didn't say this in the podcast, satire either becomes outdated and ridiculous, outlandish, like a simple oh my God, help me here.
No, I'm gonna let you stumble through.
Oh God. A modest proposal.
A modest proposal, right?
Eating Irish babies.
Yes, how silly is that?
Yeah.
When it's just satire.
Yeah.
Or it
becomes
realized like Idiocracy.
Yeah, like Idiocracy.
Or like the original
or
RoboCop.
Like RoboCop.
Having a setting where everyone is armed, there's just weapons everywhere. So yeah, that's a great setting.
Another thing I'm reminded of, here's a bit of homework. Do you know the comic Hard Boiled?
Yes.
By Frank Miller, I think. That one had a couple very poignant scenes that I think would be awesome to recreate here. Literally, it like the main character lives in this grimy part of town where everything has to have bulletproof everything.
Everything, yeah.
And when he gets on the bus, everything on the bus is bulletproof, and there are literally, you see bullet trajectories pinging off the window, where if the window wasn't there or bulletproof, it would be going through his head. And like the whole comic is like that, where it's just crazy. I want to say over the top, but it's not that over the top. The only thing we have random shootings. I don't know. We live in a crazy world. But I think that's sort of a good thing for the lookbook of
Look at
what
Hard
I'd be
Boiled.
going
Yeah.
for.
Okay, and I agree. I think there's a good setting there. It's a future not too far off where it's just rampant. Everyone doesn't conceal. Everyone just carries.
Yeah.
So it's the frickin' Wild West again. So now, who's our cop? Who is Alex Murphy in this story? He's a beat cop, but what does that beat cop do? Is he comfortable within his neighborhood, and he's friends with the people who are, like I'm sweeping in front of my store with my AK strapped to my back. Hey, Officer Murphy. Hey, how's it going there? And then he's somehow mixed up. And then sorry, I'm two thoughts at once.
Yeah.
Also discussing the drone aspect of policing. I like that notion. You said you'd swing back around to it with I suggested drone. Every cop has a drone partner.
So what I feel like that puts one of the aspects that I think they actually do with Murphy and Lewis in the first one. They hint at it with the second. They do a lot. They lean a lot on just sort of like the givens in that. But I feel like the first one does a bit better. And something I'd like to highlight is there is something special about cops partnerships. We see it in many stories. These two people are very, the relationship between two cops, between partners, can be very
Intimate. It's special.
Intimate, thick.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking thick as thieves, and that's
Yeah.
they're not thieves.
It's intimate. It's not romantically intimate. It can be, but it's like they are brothers, or they are brother and sister. They are siblings in arms, and they ride through the war zone together every day. There's a relationship that develops in that regard. Whether it's two beat cops or two detectives, that makes perfect sense. I don't see any reason why Murphy couldn't have a relationship with Lewis through a robot. Like, you're my partner. If other people in the department have a problem with, we're the last human department, they finally are giving us our damn drone counterparts, and Murphy's the one that's like, hey, we want to do this. This is what we signed up for, and I'm okay with my partner. Like the one cop who's like okay with whoever Lewis is behind the computer screen, behind the digital eyes, there can be, I think, that close, tight-knit relationship, the thick as thieves relationship, could exist. And just think of the world we live in. How close of a relationship do you have with your phone? You have people have more of a relationship.
But I don't have a relationship. I feel like I don't have that type of relationship with another person through my phone. Maybe that makes me an old person. I guess I'm thinking of the scenes where Robocop stomps off after the bad guys, and Lewis is literally following. Our drone, Lewis, wouldn't. They'd be following, but with I don't know. It's not the.
It's two robots.
It's not. It's yeah. And it's not Samwise chasing Frodo. It's Samwise using a remote drone to keep an eye on Frodo.
Okay, well then let's rewind a little bit. What the suggestion that drones it's the last precinct in Detroit that is just all human, and the time is up, and they are being assigned drones, and Lewis and Murphy are two human partners who are they're going to split us up. By the end of the month, we're both going to be assigned a robot. How do you feel about that? Well, I'm going to miss you. And then when Murphy is then turned into the drone, Lewis got her or his robot partner in Murphy. So that's I don't know. That's my suggestion of, because you're right, keeping them human. Lewis scrambling to keep up with RoboCop.
So this was something I was thinking a while back, but I kind of abandoned it. Rather than quote unquote drones or robots, what if? And one of the things the original RoboCop movie goes through a section of is showing many attempts at creating a RoboCop and why Alex Murphy is special, why he's the only one that this worked on. The 2014 one goes through candidates, and they're like, none of these will work, and then they pick the one that will, and then they do it there
because
and
the movie needed it to be him.
Yeah. What if, rather than doing drones and robots, because then we need to justify, well, why Murphy? Why did they put Murphy's brain in this one when they can just go to fully automated
let Murphy die
robots? Yeah. What if they're all? What if it's a whole series? It's not just. So to say a fun story.
Yeah, you're doing the James Cameron, aren't you?
Putting RoboCop on the putting an S at the end. Robocops. I don't actually want to follow many RoboCops. I just want to follow Murphy. But the suggestion being OCP actually does make a whole bunch here.
So the entire precinct is assigned 12 RoboCops. They are deceased cops who have been cybernetically built into the drone replacements.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with
and our Alex Murphy. And this might be the wrong way to go, because then what are we saying? Alex Murphy somehow short circuits and Johnny Fives out of the programming.
Okay, so I there's something to that. I still think, as far as the setting is concerned, we've got our city. As far as the premise is concerned, being the, I still want to pitch I want to keep my pitch on the table of this is the last precinct to adopt the drone program. And because they're last, they're getting the next generation of drones. So while there are other precincts around the city or outside the city, what have you, that it's strictly drone robots cops, this is the first upgraded program that is cybernetic robot cops that OCP is pitching, and Alex just happens to be one of the people chosen to be returned to his precinct. And his old partner, Lewis. So your suggestion that there are multiple humanoid cybernetic cops and he is just one of them, this all okay. I'm still on board there, and I don't know if you followed me through that.
I think I'm tripping on the whole last precinct thing.
They could just be the next precinct. I'm just trying to create a
I guess what story are we wanting to tell with the drones?
Well, that's going to have to be the next question. Is the bad guy is going to have to be resolved? that's the next thing we need to talk about is like, what's the threat here? What's the bad guy here? And therefore, what does our Robocop, what does our Alex Murphy need to overcome in order to defeat the bad guy, or bad guys, plural, because Robocop had two, both versions of this have the corporate villain and the street villain, right? So that's the question. What's the villain? What's the antagonist in this? And then therefore, what does our hero need to accomplish? And so whether they're the last precinct, the next precinct, or what have you, or just he was the next in line to become the humanoid replacement. Okay, well,
Sorry, I'm thinking.
You can take the time to think because I'm going to throw it to a break right now.
Oh, okay.
So you go ahead and you can keep. Take your beard mohawk down and run your fingers through it.
No, upward.
Oh, sorry, upward. Yeah. Take the helmet off.
Stroke my mohawk. That sounds.
That sounds like a
sounds very
euphemism.
bad.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick break here, and let's see if we can't start cracking into more of what this script needs to be. So, here's a message from 6'5", I believe. We'll be right back.
I know nothing about Pokemon.
And lucky for you, I know a lot. So here are the top 5 reasons to listen to this season of Top 5 Nintendo.
Number 5, we give you the real answers on Pokemon.
Number 4, we help you improve your game strategy so you'll never lose again.
Number 3, you can observe our bond of friendship.
Number 2, you can anticipate the excitement of a new Pokemon game with us.
Number 1, and most importantly, you can relive some nostalgia of over 25 years of Pokemon.
See you there.
Hello and welcome to Game Dev Hideout. My name is Daniel and I am excited to introduce our new 6'5 show. Joining me is my co-host Chris as we drop down the ladder and give you a look into the indie game development community. We'll introduce you to lots of cool game developers, pixel artists, musicians, and other members of the indie dev community. We hope you'll climb on up and check out some games.
Oh, and we're back. Here
Robocop.
We go. Robocop. All right. So, I feel like we have a pretty solid setting, but we don't have a story yet. Like, we don't know. And I think it does go to our antagonist because killing Alex Murphy, getting him into a Robocop suit, and then they're launching him onto the city. Okay, we can. That's if you just stick with the baseline of Robocop, sure. Where do you want to go here? Like, I feel like we haven't quite locked into anything yet, other than nasty ass Detroit and the proliferation. Lot of guns. Lot of guns.
Yeah.
Perforated guns.
Perforated guns. Oh no. So traditionally, we're gonna have there should be two bad guys, and they should be connected. There's OCP, the corporation trying to control everything, for your good, for your own good, really. And then the criminals that have a connection to them that no one is aware of. Although I guess that didn't really happen in the 2014 one.
No, 2014
they were
one.
connected to the other detectives. That's the 2014 tried to do a whole corrupt cop thing, but anytime they do a corrupt cop story, by they I mean Hollywood in general, it's usually a couple bad apples.
Right.
It's never a systemic problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we want to tackle systemic police problems. I have a couple ideas.
We might have to. I was about to suggest as far as like the corporate controlling body that is somehow the evil responsible for everything that's wrong that Alex needs to kick out a window. I was going to suggest a congressman being at the top of all this, that there's some sort of political angle here that the person at the top of the food chain that is ultimately responsible for some amount of evil in this story being a political figure, whether it's
Well,
whether it's all the way to DC or just the top of the city, like the mayor or something.
I'm pretty sure it was a story from several years ago now, and I'm probably going to get some of the stuff wrong, but I know that like during I know Michigan still has water crises happening, but sort of at its height, at least when it was in the media. One of the things that had happened is there was like a billionaire who offered or wanted or was trying to buy Detroit, just the city. He was just trying to straight buy the whole city. What if that's happening? What if if OCP is trying to buy the city, and there's a congressman who's lining things up to make that happen?
Passing certain corporate laws that are making it that much easier for, and then getting paid to do so. Yeah, that's a great bad guy premise right there.
Okay.
They want to buy the whole city. Like, they want to own it. Like, I mean, do you want to go so far as to suggest this is like an Elon Musk buying the whole city, and therefore you have like the tech billionaire evil in this story as well?
No, the
corporation.
It's a corporation.
It's a boardroom.
Obviously, we can make a certain character, like in the original, it was
Old 80s white man.
Yeah, I forget who. Like, not Punky Brewster's grandpa dad.
yes.
And then because one of the through lines of that is the corporate infighting in the original RoboCop. Less so in the 2014. None. There's none in the 2014.
So having a corporation trying to buy an entire city and succeeding, and then a politician who is manipulating the system to allow that to happen, making money off of that. All right, that's a solid villain. I think that, and it's very telling to how easily politicians are bought off all the time.
All the time. Okay.
Now to connect to a villain on the street level, rationalizing why it's more and more important that a corporation take over. Like, look how well we're doing by controlling, like having our police force be developed at the highest of level of tech. Because look at the rampant crime that they are able to stop, and basically having some underling street level who is responsible for the big crimes. That is, those big crimes are being orchestrated by either the corporation or the politician to make it that much easier to say, oh no, this city will be so much better if we look at how well we're able to stop these big crimes.
I have an idea.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say a bunch of things. Hopefully they make sense.
I hope so too.
You can make them make sense. So we have ourselves some criminals, right? That are hired clandestinely by one of the executives of OCP.
Got it. Yes.
To kind of make this deal happen. Like, we need the country, we need the state, the country to not want Detroit anymore. It needs to be
hellscape.
Escape
from New York. It's just so bad. Shut it down. Yeah.
And right now, it's not there. They have the terrible wasteland destitute part, sure, but you have the nice parts of town and the suburbs that are still perfectly fine, that people still want to be in and live in and stuff like that. So what if our executive hires, maybe even they go rogue to do this, or, so that creates the conflict in the boardroom?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
He hires this guy, our
street level,
our street the red
Kirkwood.
Kirkwood, yeah, the Kirkwood of our movie here, and his gang, who they do all kinds of mercenary crime.
They fund them.
Yeah.
Like, give them the resources to commit the big crimes.
And like we can even show, like, they normally commit these kind of crimes. These are the types of places they hit. And our OCP guy actually gives them weaponry to go and basically hit, just rob and kill, basically. Oh gosh, my first thought was like a mid-tier, not high-rise, but like apartment building.
Like a closed community of sorts.
Yeah, actually, that's even better. Have it be a subdivision.
And perhaps, and that could be where we are as a culture, that the cities are like locked down. Like each neighborhood exists in its own closed community.
As Snow Crash calls them, burbclaves.
Burbclaves.
Actually, no. Did that call them that? Or was that Diamond Age?
I like it now.
Yeah.
So they fund. It's like, go get this middle class area.
Yeah, and so you're gonna mess it up, and that's gonna tell everyone, oh, this is a bad place. It's getting worse. We can't even defend the nice places anymore.
We vote for this corporatization.
Yeah, and that's supposed to grease the wheels to sell Detroit, basically.
Okay. I have something I'd like to add to that, but I'll hold off.
And in the doing of that, that's when Murphy and Lewis show up. That's where Murphy gets killed.
Okay.
So Murphy is a hero cop who died saving people in this burbclave, however he could. And OCP is going to do everything they can for this hero cop. That's how they make Robocop.
Okay. If I may jump in
Sure.
before we proceed, don't.
Yep.
I like where you're going with that. To add to the corruption here, right? And also, like, it's not just we need you to attack this burbclave.
Suburb enclave.
This burbclave. Another problem that they're facing that has been slowing down this process is certain police officers doing a good job. That they need a failure on the police as well, so that the corporatization can be enhanced even further. So setting up whoever responds to this, whatever precinct responds to this, setting them up to fail as well. So it's not just like it's not just that the OCP has Kirkwood Smith, our street villain, armed to the teeth to take out this, also setting them up to be like, we know the protocol. We're going to give you the police channel, the police band, so you can make the cops look like fools as well. Let the cops fail the people as much as the city itself have failed the people. Let's make, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure. So
then
one of the things I was kind of wanting to incorporate as well is showing the difference between the haves and the have-nots.
okay, yes,
One of the things we've been shown that we know about actual Detroit, but we've never been shown in RoboCop are the residential areas. And in Detroit, it's very well in the surrounding areas. The abandoned houses and
Yeah.
neighborhoods are a huge thing.
I had no idea the level of condemnation that Detroit has gone through until Grand Tour, the Top Gear spinoff series on Amazon. They did a Motor City episode where they went to Detroit and just toured it and showed the squalor. Like, there's full, just blocks and blocks of buildings that are just empty, that people have just abandoned the city.
So what I'd want to do is, those places aren't really abandoned. That's where the destitute live.
Sure.
And the thing is, the destitute, I wouldn't want to make them completely unarmed, but what I think would be interesting is we have Murphy and Lewis. They're on patrol, or they get a call to go somewhere, and they go through that part of town. And that part of town, honestly, it feels tense because they're cops in this area, but no one wants anything to do with them. They ask people stuff, and they try to they point. They don't rat anyone out, but they point them on their way, and they just want to be left alone.
Yeah, stay out of our neighborhood. Don't bother me. Just keep going that way.
And my thought is that's where they end up finding sort of the HQ of our Kirkwood Smith. Smith, right? It's
Yeah,
Kirkwood.
Yep.
And that's how they know to go to that place to stop
Like
the thing that's about to happen.
Oh, sure. So they like stumble on, like, oh my God, this is they're gonna attack. We need to go. Yeah.
But in juxtaposition to how this absolute terrible situation is portrayed, I want to show that the people there want to live in peace. They don't actually want to fight. They don't want to hate cops. And then when our characters go to the suburbs, they're welcome. Like the whole blue lives, like
Yeah.
the cop flags are waving and stuff like that. But the moment the cops are like, "Hey, we need you to tell us this, and we think this," like they start like, "What are you interrogating me
you're
for?
Infringing on my, you think I'm a
Yeah.
criminal? How
Yeah.
dare you treat
Yeah,
me
that,
this way?
That how dare like I'm doing my job here, and and the thing is, all of those people are armed and ready to use them.
Yeah. Don't tread on me.
Yeah.
It's that image of, I don't know if you remember, this was a few years ago. It was that polo shirt wearing dude and his wife, and they had their big guns.
Oh
like,
yeah,
for the
when
protesters.
the march to the governor or mayor's house.
Yeah, those
walked
two
past their house.
Yeah, those two meme assholes.
Yeah.
That's the attitude of the people. You're just yeah.
And
I have
so then when our criminal gang does get there and the shootout starts, it's not just a bloodbath of the criminals killing them. Like all of the citizens also get their guns and start shooting back.
Yeah, we're all mad.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion. You might not want to go this way, or even broach the subject, but it's been on my mind since we started unfolding this, and the distrust or the weird relationship Murphy specifically and Lewis have with the people, like the distrust that we want to instill. There are people who distrust the cops. There are people who feel betrayed by them. There are people who Blue Lives Matter, but then don't tread on me. I think if Murphy's black, we add an entire level to this.
Sure. I'm crossing my arms not because I'm resisting, but because I'm thinking about it.
the idea of you're a cop, you don't understand how you've betrayed your people by siding with the law when you know what the law has done to our people. Like, I'm so sorry for that beep. I think there might be something. There's another level, and we might, and as I like to say, we're not qualified to truly go to this place, but I do think there's an entire level to dive into here if our main character is a person of color.
So, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, for really similar reasons, wanted to keep him white.
Okay.
Because when OCP goes and revives him, and the little bit of face we can see on him, it's important to OCP's image and the people they're really trying to influence.
Mm-hmm.
Look, he's still a white guy.
Yeah, I think the reverse of that, though. That if the biggest problem, quote unquote, it's not the Blue Lives Matter flag wavers in this part of town that are going to have a problem. I mean, they're going to have a problem with it's who's going to be more difficult to win over within this society, and who distrusts the cops more.
I mean, from OCP's perspective,
yeah.
The people that live in the squatters in the abandoned part of town, we don't care about what they think.
Right, but they're going to be the real. The rats are the problem. We need to.
Yeah, they're the problem. But, it feels really weird to like. I think the evil racist propaganda is really important to keep standing here.
But I think that the racial propaganda can exist on a different side of things if Alex Murphy is black. And you know there's so much to suggest that any variation of ethnicity or gender or gender fluidity is going to change the perspective of how does this society and its people react to this type of police officer. So maybe we can't make this decision here now.
Well, I guess the reason
I just want Idris Elba to be Robocop, okay? That's all it comes down to. That voice, he's so handsome, Jim.
Oh, that would be a good voice. A good voice for Robocop. I think the product of Robocop that OCP would sell would be to make the suburban white people comfortable and happy.
I know, but I hate to say it, but there's something to it's one of the good ones can be said of a hero black cop. Like, he speaks to the people. Having some asshole white guy who's like, "What's up, my brother?" Like, ugh, it's gross, but I think there's some societal commentary that can happen in that. There's some satire that can really grow out of that as well. Again, this might not be something we need to decide here. It's more of the subtle the subtext of what does a racial change of the character do.
I would be worried that when RoboCop then sides, because he will eventually side with
the law.
well, no, with the people who are being exploited
Mm-hmm.
to fight against any corrupt forces we send against him, and to fight against the corporation.
Mm-hmm.
It says, I feel like there's the concern that it says color is the dividing line.
I see.
Whereas if he's a white-faced robot who sides with the quote-unquote wrong-colored people to fight against these oppressive forces,
Mm-hmm.
that says more for overcoming that racial prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
Now I realize that that steps back into white saviorism,
Yeah.
which I also don't want to do. So I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think, as I said, that we need to decide it here. It was something that I wanted to put on the table because it does allow us to explore so much deeper themes if we go into racial territory.
Sure.
And we are allies here. We want inclusion as storytellers. We want to change the perspective in films and see what that does for a presentation. So we don't need to sit here right now and go, it needs to be white, it needs to be black. I wanted to put it out there as an option.
We didn't even touch on gender. I really liked that Lewis was a woman in the first one.
Yes.
And as much as I like, what's his name?
Michael K. Williams.
Michael K.
Who's
Williams.
amazing.
He is,
Rest in
and
peace.
he's a good, everything he's in. So even in that, he's a good Lewis.
Yeah.
I did kind of miss that it wasn't a woman partner.
Yeah. I agree. I
maybe
prefer Lewis being
The wrong reaction. I don't know.
being and actually that goes to a bigger picture of society being perceived as lesser. Oh, a female cop. What is that? She's not a real cop. She's a female cop. Like putting that label on it adds some subtext and some analysis to how do people treat her versus just how capable she is. Great example of that. I want to just point to Dredd. That is a super awesome feminist action movie for a lot of its messaging and themes and how gender identity and the gender roles are perceived in that movie. It's so good. I love that movie. Go check it out. Better people than me have discussed it. But yeah, Lewis as female, I think is great. Could our Kirkwood Smith be John Leguizamo? I want him in more stuff too.
What, really? Wait, are you having
I've come
a
around
change
on
of
him.
heart?
Oh.
I don't know if that's been said. TC has had a
little chip on my shoulder.
Chip on his shoulder about John Leguizamo because of a childhood bully. We won't go into it more than that.
No, because the last time I won't go into it more, but I'm going to more because the last time I pointed that out, you kind of said, you have a lot of childhood bullies. I'm like, leave me alone, Jim. I was picked on a lot, and then you're like, well, you said
I'm going to be an adult bully.
Anyway,
I'm sorry I did that.
That's okay.
And I'm glad to see you giving John Leguizamo a chance. 30 years later?
Oh, man, he hosted The Daily Show. He did such a good job. I'm like, I like John Leguizamo. I stand by the tweet. It's everything that Jared Leto got, we should have gave to John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another day. Let's get back to Robocop here. So I'm feeling some structure here. The villain nature of this, like, why is Murphy chosen? Do you want to keep going with the idea that there are many RoboCops out there and he just happens to be the special one? Or is he the first and only?
I think he's the first. I think he's the first. Maybe not only.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know if we want to go down the route of magic happened here and he's right. He's the Captain America of people who could be turned into robots.
I liked the idea that there's already a bunch out there.
I don't know if I want to do.
You wrote it on the whiteboard. You put the S and you put the dollar symbol through it. Now that's all I can look at, Jim.
No.
I'm thinking of how much money we make with RoboCops.
What if? Well, I think that would be a part of OCP's plan here. Right, like in the boardroom. We haven't talked about those scenes, the conflict happening there between those executives. hired these criminals to go do this thing. Like, what? I'm trying to devalue this property so that we can buy it, and like maybe so then maybe someone else's project, because I think that was that actually I don't know, that wasn't actually the case. What if another executive's project was Robocop? So it's like, what do you mean that's what you're doing? That's why I made Robocop. Yeah, so so making cops, that's going to make it safer. That's not going to devalue the property. And
That's
he's
a
like,
good
no,
conflict,
no,
man.
but it's going to be law enforcement that we control.
Yes, yeah, and
And so having him, I don't mind him being the first one. So as a second act change, like they've also now greenlit, they're working on making more. They're working on making a whole unit
well, maybe
based
that's
on the success of this
success.
one.
Well, I say that's already, but I would like to suggest that already be set in motion. That they've, and the 2014 one kind of did this, where they're like looking at candidates. Perhaps the RoboCop program has already selected all the hero cop candidates. Every RoboCop we approve is a hero, and everyone's happy to see us resurrect them to be a hero cop once again with more tools of the trade. Like, they have gone out of their way to cherry pick faces that people like and honor, like the best of the best. Like the marketing behind of like hero cops and whatnot, and so Murphy qualifies in that. So then when there's like the overlapping conflict of like the RoboCop side of the corporate is like, oh great, we had another cop die as a hero trying to protect the city. That's another one for the program. Green light. And then the other side is like, you asshole. We can't. We did that. That was us. So now we can't. We've already approved it. We can't take it down. We've announced it. Well, we gotta hope he never puts two and two together. Well, make sure he suppress those memories. Like, I don't know. That's a lot of spaghetti, but
yeah.
Because I like the idea that
having it already be something. I think he should be the first one. He doesn't have to be the last one.
Okay.
And he doesn't have to be the only one in this movie.
Mm-hmm. But he's the first, and then other RoboCops started appearing. Kind of like how the Ed 209s, they appear more like they exist in the beginning of the first one, and then they like launch them all at the end of the first.
Sort of. I believe the Ed 209 was a project by another CEO.
Okay.
And it was going wrong, and that's where our one guy is all like, nah, that's fine. I got a better project that's gonna usurp this, and I'm gonna then be on the fast track to be in charge.
So in the 2014 one, Jackie Earle Haley has his like perfect drone robots.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of liked that there was the,
because that technology is very much on track to existing already.
Yeah, having that be the Eds, not having the tank walkers.
That was a thought that I had earlier to kind of coincide. So Detroit already has, and they've had for years now, this sound detection system to hear where shots are fired, to have first responders get there quicker.
Yeah.
We could just use drones as sort of like they're early patrollers. So you have drones flying all over. So the drones are still a part of the setting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when drones find
the flying drone types.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they find things, they basically there halt, shine a spotlight and like that, send a signal. That's what sends the patrol car. That's what gets our Murphy and Lewis out to the area, or any cops out to a response. One of the things our criminals, our Kirkwood, is able to do, one of the reasons, I don't know if it would justify the RoboCop program, but it's one of the problems is this is the future, and the cops aren't the only ones with super tech.
Mm-hmm.
The criminals are able to basically hack and create gaps in the drone system.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they're getting away with their crime.
They're literally creating windows of space to like work around the drones. I like that, because then you have sort of like an underling character to our Kirkwood villain. That's like the guy at the computer's like, all right, window of opportunity through 5th Street, turn left on Pershing, like like constantly like navigating the chessboard of the city by creating gaps. I like that. That's kind of cool. But so going to the first, why is he chosen? What is it?
Well, he's the hero. He was the hero cop that saved lives at the
battle, the war zone,
at the MacGuffin disaster.
The closed community of MacGuffins.
Yeah, where Kirkwood hit.
And so they for optics' sake, after Officer Murphy saved all these people and gave his life to protect it, to honor him, we have now brought him back to protect all of Detroit. Is it an optics thing? Like it just...
I would think so. That's what I do. Sorry, I faded for a second because I was thinking, like, would they use because one of the things that was kind of neat, and I think the corporation would they'd like to have both. They'd like to be able to put that hero cop face on their product, but they also want to keep it a product.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of them actually trying to erase Alex Murphy as a like keep his face on it but erase
his humanity.
Him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to necessarily like it could actually be like maybe Alex and Murphy aren't the only ones that show up. Maybe several cops are there and several cops get killed and they're all kind of picked up and Murphy's just the first one through the program.
I like that. Let's add a ticking clock then. That it is, while they were able to cybernetically enhance, immediately upon activation, the memories start fading, the humanity starts fading. It's not like that they program it out of them. It's just a flaw in the system. You can keep the organic material going by pumping blood through it and activating it with electronics, freaking Dr. Frankenstein style, but brain cells die, and the process, that the trauma that he went through is deteriorating him faster and faster. So Murphy as a human is finite. That by the if the clock runs out, the brain will have officially
maybe that's
shut down.
Sorry, I just also thought maybe that the impetus for Robocop, why create this fusion cop, because 2014 went through that as well, right? We have these fully automated drones that one Jackie Earl Haley controls. Why do we need a Robocop?
Yes,
and it is the hacker, right? Like
you can't
this
hack.
New version of criminal is able to hack our police drones.
So can't hack a human brain kind of thing.
So that's why they insist on we put a human brain in there.
I don't mind that. Is there a chance that they could hack the body itself? So then we have Robocop trying to Murphy's trying to I've lost control of my left side because it has been hacked. So then it's like a struggle. I
feel like as an Act 2 kind of thing, yes. So one of the things the original Robocop did that the 2014 didn't. The 2014 did do that, you're a red asset, so I can't affect you, so I can't actually do the thing.
Yeah.
I don't mind that being in there, but I feel like that should almost be like an Act 2 thing, and he's able to overcome it, not with magic brain growing over programming stuff, but some other way. Murphy is able to get that security turned off. Whether it's the CEO that was in charge of the Robocop program gets killed by the other guy, because there needs to be suits killing each other at the top as well.
Yes.
Yeah. He as sort of his last act or whatever, or he has like a dead man switch that he didn't tell his competing CEO about. That basically, as like a revenge, he's like, nah, no one gets control of this project if I'm not there to be in charge of it.
Shut it down.
And because Murphy's already out in the street, his does actually get opened. The not shut it down. Basically lock out anyone from doing a thing, he basically. Well, I'm really stuttering a lot here. He basically sends evidence to Murphy of, hey, I was killed by this other guy, who then is coming in and he's like, this is my project now. Get these other Robocops up and running. But Murphy is out and maybe even a rogue target at that point. And he has the evidence that there was wrongdoing at the top of OCP.
Right. Even the guy who like Deadman gave this information is
and
like, I'm guilty as well, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to jail. I'm dead. So
Yeah, and in that dead man switch, it kind of like it turns off the gates in RoboCop in the Murphy.
So allows Alex Murphy to return fully.
Yeah, allows Pinocchio to lose his strings.
I'll sign off on that. And I think that when RoboCop is activated, when Alex is activated, he is fully like, I am RoboCop. I follow the law. Like his humanity is. He starts without it.
I have a better idea.
Okay.
I think the dead man switch thing should still happen for Murphy to have the evidence. Lewis, who wants to help their partner, RoboCop, Alex Murphy. Like you're Alex Murphy. Stop being a robot. You were my partner. Once he's on the run, needs help. Murphy. I still want them to be on patrol together, but Murphy is the drone expert. What if Murphy actually goes in and hacks RoboCop themselves?
Like he's literally at a console, like trying to shut himself down, like shut down the.
No, sorry, Lewis.
Lewis is
sorry,
trying to.
Lewis.
Okay.
Lewis goes into Murphy's programming and turns off the governors.
Yes, but let's have it after an encounter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like literally, Alex has been like beat up, like short circuiting. The arm is like falling off, and Lewis is like triage, like fixing Murphy in the field. Like, man, that we survived, but man, let me fix you. Huh? What? I'm just looking at the program. There's some weird protocols in here I don't quite understand. Inadvertently finding this out, or it's two options: inadvertently finding out and going, "What if I shut this down?" or knowing it's there and shutting it down.
I think knowingly.
Knowingly.
I think like RoboCop gets like there's an early confrontation with bad guy CEO. He's like, you did a crime. I'm gonna get like literally he shoots someone in front of RoboCop. He's like, crime doer, I'm gonna get you. And he's like, you can't do anything
Dead or
to
alive, you're coming with
OCP
me.
that is
Red band.
yeah,
Can't touch me.
essentially, and do something like dead or alive, huh? You can be dead. That's fine.
Yeah.
and like so that's when like he shoots at RoboCop and all that, and RoboCop barely gets away, and he meets Lewis. And Lewis is like, what happened? Because that's how he's going to talk, or they are going to talk. And Murphy explains, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't arrest him.
I have
I
their
couldn't
walls.
do these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why Lewis is like, oh, that's not cool. That's bad.
Let me get in there.
Yeah. No one should be above the law. So yeah. So I think
I like
that's
it.
why Lewis goes in there and removes those governors.
The suggestion that there's other RoboCops out there, that like a whole platoon, a whole squad of officers are taken out. Murphy's the first one to activate, but then that we get like 6 or 7 more out there who are like less human, like they have less surviving parts.
So that was the point to the Ed 209 originally. Is Ed 209's the other RoboCop?
Yes.
That Alex Murphy is better than. Do we want to incorporate Ed 209 anywhere?
No, I know like there's an iconic nature to seeing that freaking T-Rex looking thing hopping around and whatnot, but I like the idea that the replacement for that is like the other officers who do not have any who've like basically if they were all like mowed down, Alex just had like the most surviving parts, and that's why the remains of Alex were able to overcome the robotic programming, while the 10 or so other RoboCops are...
A quick little aside
Yeah.
about the 2014 RoboCop, when they show us how much is remaining of Murphy, I have a theory that less is actually even remaining of that. I don't believe that that's actually his hand. I think it was incorporated to give RoboCop a bit more humanity so he could shake hands and make people feel better. It's not actually his hand, and it's not actually his face. It's a fake face because he needs to be able to see his face.
Up. Yeah, he did get blown up pretty good.
Yeah.
It's an interesting theory.
Because the rest of his skull is gone.
Yeah.
So his face isn't even real.
There's some like
There's some good body horror in there.
Good PG-13 body horror
Yeah.
in that. Man, crank that up to rated R. Alex is chosen for Hero Cop, made RoboCop, so on and so forth. Let's
What are we missing? I know there's probably plot holes.
Yeah. I'm just trying to
Somewhere
think
in
like
there.
how does this conclude? Like where do we go with the corruption angle? It's about control, like purchasing all of Detroit so that it is a fully corporate owned city. It's not just like owning all the
literally once RoboCop finds out about
Yeah.
why the RoboCop program was started, the guy who hired Kirkwood, like it goes. That's what leads him to the OCP boardroom
Right.
to arrest these.
But getting to Kirkwood first to
Sure.
then go to or vice versa, take out the corporate and then take out the middleman who has accumulated too much power on the streets. Like the corporate stooges, they can think they own this city, but I own this city. I control this city. Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Like that. What's the final confrontation? The corporate boardroom or the streets?
the corporate boardroom.
Okay. So
So actually, that means taking out Kirkwood is where he gets the final damning
yes,
piece of evidence.
That's where I was going.
Okay.
Which is not too dissimilar to the original. Taking them out, getting up to. So then, but what's the end result there? So like exposing these people.
It's the exposing. I don't know. Maybe is it too cliche to go the UHF route where he like records the big boss saying, "I'm trying to buy this city,"
Confessing.
and like I'm transmitting this right now, and the whole city knows. Boo! Boo to you buying the city. Oh no!
We know the truth now.
Hot
hot mic. No, that's not strong at all. That's silly. But it's not just that he can go into that boardroom and says, "I know you've all committed these crimes. You're coming with me." Fight. The other Ed Robocop's come in to fight Robocop, and he's trying to fight his way to get the faces of this company. I'd love to think that there might be something in Lewis being like, you can't kill any of them. We need all of them. You can't just capture one and that's it. We need all 6 of these guys, and they're running for their lives and spreading out within the building, and you're being attacked by 12 other Robocops and incapacitating them to bring them to justice as opposed to just killing them, because that's how the original ends. That's how 2014 one ends. They kill the bad guy. Game over.
We as audiences like the bad guy getting shot. We don't like the bad guy getting away, even by being arrested.
Right. And so, is there a way to wrap this up in such a way where alive you're coming with me, so that they face justice? It's exposing them is one thing, but they're dead. I don't know. I think the concern is that like there will be a power vacuum, and then just some other corporate group is going to come in and pick up where OCP left off.
That's the where. We're not going to. Detroit will never be safe from the corporations. The corporations will always be there. Where that is exactly what will happen. We don't have an ending where we're safe from them.
Okay.
It's about eliminating this one.
And is eliminating mean going in there and just picking them off one by one? Is that the big action-packed climax? Because if the whole there's an element here of Alex Murphy needs to end his story, and there's a character we forgot to incorporate here that might be the solution. He needs to end this by truly embracing his humanity.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? How do we get there? I don't just want to replicate the 80s one and say, like, let's bring his wife and kid into this, because 2014 didn't need that.
No.
The most interesting thing they did is that his wife had to sign off.
Mm-hmm.
Removing them from the 2014 one changes nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that means we have a cute and or sexy lamp.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that. So,
well,
the two things is like Alex's humanity being in the finale, like the final thing is being human and making a human choice to save the world or the city. And how does it happen? Is it a loved one? I don't know. That's what I'm putting on the table now. What do your spinning gears that are shooting smoke out of your ears have to say?
I don't know if it's well known or not, but I sure don't like a love story. That's not actually true.
I get the point and it's more so in the 80s one, and they tried it in the 2014 one, giving him a family does humanize him more. However, it feels cheap to just put them there to very cliche, come on, listen to your heart, Alex, it's me, your wife. I don't have a heart anymore, it blew up. Like, I don't like that. It feels cheap. It feels easy to make that the deciding factor. I wonder if there's something in his heart, his true connection to his humanity, being the people he is sworn to serve and protect.
We do a flashback to the earlier scenes of the citizens that he came across.
Maybe that could be super hokey. That it's like the like, we believe in you, Robocop. We believe in you, Robocop. Everyone just believe. No, I don't want that. Like,
there's a little bit of that at the end of Robocop too.
Yes, but Alex finding his humanity and letting that be the deciding factor of how he is a hero in the end, like understanding his power, understanding what that means to the city and the society he's a part of. I don't know what that is. I'm saying these words and I'm putting them out into the air, but I don't know how to wrap into that.
In general, I really liked how the 80s one did it by having the wife and son move on. He did not reconnect with them. It was about reconnecting with his memory of them, and that represented his humanity.
Yes, I agree. Forcing them in as plot like objects in a plot to just force him to be like, oh, this isn't easy. It's the equivalent of killing a dog to pull at the audience's hearts.
Would it be too much to include her, and then when she sees how he looks now, she's all like, that's not my husband?
Yeah, I like that. That's a good subversion. The expectation that the wife will stand by her husband's side and being like, no, I signed off on this. They paid me well. I'm sorry, my husband died and I buried him, and I'm mourning his loss. You are, and there's some
we can do that without her just seeming cold.
Yeah, and there's some current societal conversation in that. Black Mirror does a great episode with Haley Atwell and Domhnall Gleeson about that. We have so much social media. We have so much of us that we put out online, but it's curated through the filter we create to create the best versions of ourselves, that after we pass, all that remains of what we've left behind is this sanitized version of who we are. The flaws are gone. She would see that, like trying to like, it's me. It's like, no, I buried my husband. He died. Like, no, like, it's cold, it's sad, but having her move on, I think, is a much better choice than leaving her in the story for reasons.
The other way, I'm gonna say it so that it's recorded for posterity.
Put it out there.
My bad one is they are victims in the shooting.
The shooting
that he
I'm
interrupt.
I'm putting my thumb down on that one.
Yeah.
But thank you for putting it out there.
But it's recorded for posterity.
It's for so those out there is like, listen to Jim T.C. No.
Okay.
But it comes back to that conclusion of what is the touch of humanity he has, and actually that's funny because it goes all the way back to the beginning of the story of the cops, whether it's what we incorporate in the film or just the discussion we had, the human touch of police officers versus the automation of of officers. He is the best of both worlds. And being able to make a human choice versus the ones and zeros of the robotic choice. That is the final hurdle for him to go over in the end of the movie. And I think the human officer would want the justice of blowing everyone away and throwing them out a window. The right way to do is at least bring one of these guys in.
Bring him in. So a thought I had is we actually have two guys at the top, and I was going to say one gets shot, one gets away. You choose which, TC, not the audience.
Oh, I get to choose.
Not the audience.
I get to choose.
You get to choose. Either the head, the corporate head of Omni, not
OCP.
OCP, or the congressman.
I'd let the congressman get away.
Okay.
I would take out the congressman getting away scot-free because in the grand scheme of our country, as much as we want to believe in the justice system,
Mm-hmm.
there's a level that none of us are in that makes people untouchable. Oh, sure, you're going to go to
You want to
jail.
acknowledge that you don't want to play with the we can get them. We can get the ones at the top.
I think the real sad truth is that that's something that has never changed and probably won't. And that's some real cynicism coming out of me. But let's be honest, folks. There are people. If I didn't pay my taxes, I'd be in trouble, Jim.
Sure. Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a slap on the wrist.
No.
If I was caught laundering money or doing it, there's certain crimes that all of us, even the people listening, you commit those crimes, guess what? You're going to jail.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have some big you're not going to have a nice time going down to the courthouse. No. But there's a level of politician, of wealth, that even though we know they're criminals, and even though they've been like convicted of those crimes, they make millions of dollars after the fact. They never face justice.
Yeah.
And I think letting the congressman get away.
Okay, then the way I'd like to do that is the congressman is there.
Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, it's okay. The congressman is there in the OCP offices because this is all going it's all going to shit, and this needs to be hashed out now.
Just gunfight like we're doing the
and, like,
raid up to the top of the building.
Kind of, yeah. With the other Robocops and stuff like that, and we get to the top, and there's several CEOs there. One of them actually goes for a gun on the table, and that's when Robocop shoots. And then we get down to the two big honchos, the OCP head and the congressman. And the OCP head makes some sort of snide there's 2 or 3 not Murphy Robocops also there, and they're all sort of at a standoff. And Murphy says, "I'm arresting you," or maybe he even I don't want him to like antagonize, but basically the OCP guy intimates like, yeah, you're gonna arrest me and I'm gonna get away. Like that's fine. I'm gonna
I'll pay for the best lawyers.
I'll pay off this charge.
I'll pay off the best judges.
Go
ahead, arrest me.
Arrest me, and I'll tell you everything you want to know about this asshole. Maybe not that flippant, but something like that.
Why not?
But there is a gun there that he could grab, and he doesn't. And that's when the congressman, realizing he's about to get flipped, says, "No, he has a gun!" And the other Robocops turn and shoot the OCP guy instead of Murphy, who has regained. Something like that. So justice. So we get to shoot our head bad guy, and he gets to stumble backwards and fall out the window.
Claymation fall.
And then, so I don't know if Murphy would then arrest the congressman or not. Probably because of white collar crime of some kind. But the congressman is totally okay with that because there's no real evidence.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
The evidence died with that guy.
The city will forget about this, and
there'll be more corporations coming here. Okay, that feels all right to me. Do we have any sort of what's the epilogue here? Do Lewis and Murphy hit the streets for?
I think we do a classic college comedy ending where we go to each
freeze
character,
frame, and it says the text
tell 'em what
underneath.
happens. Yeah.
Lewis went on to open up a pizza parlor.
Well, so if we're incorporating other honestly, incorporating other Robocops sounds cool. It creates kind of a mess of an end. So none of these other Robocops have managed to re-engage their humanity, or are they just terrible people given robot bodies?
They haven't recovered their humanity yet, and I think that's the hope for the brighter future. Ooh, boy, this might be something.
Is that the epilogue?
Yeah, the hope for the brighter future is that these police officers, while a danger to the society they're trying to protect, there's always a chance that they could find the humanity within themselves and become as good of a cop as what we hope our best police officers would be. I mean, that's a pretty on-the-nose thesis to try to present.
I want to change it a little bit. So one of the things I think that would come out, because it is made public knowledge through our story here, is it's acknowledged that the Robocop project was some sort of pet project of the corporation, and we can't allow this private this private organization to run the Robocop program. So it's been put into the hands of the city.
Okay.
So Robocop is fully, properly a law enforcement agent. Again, he is no longer property of a private corporation.
Yeah.
But that goes as well for the other Robocops. They're all being not shut down, but they are taken off the street as they are rehabilitated
Until they pass certain qualifications.
Something like that. Yeah.
Because you don't want to take someone with that much authority and power, give them a gun, and set them loose on the streets unless you know
Yeah.
that they are going to do a good job.
Yeah.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Sort of. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But the happy ending here is that the Robocops are not going to be in the hands of private interests.
That they truly are there for the people to serve and protect.
And Murphy, and Murphy is sort of the face of
The poster
that.
boy for that.
Yeah, and the idea being the other RoboCops will be ideally follow suit.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like that's at least, we're not saying like, and all crime was saved and everything was happily ever after. It's just like live to fight another day with a better understanding of how and why and all those.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. And
also, this movie should be ultra violent.
Oh yeah.
And
let's be clear. This is a hard R.
R-rated. Yeah. Hard R.
Hard R. Bloody. R. Yeah. Bloody. Disturbing. While it'd be bad. It'll be badass to see RoboCop fighting his way through a building to get to a corporate office. We're at a level of like, I said the Raid, but like a John Wick level of violence of like. Not as cool as John Wick.
Yeah, well, and also I think John Wick 1 is a better equivalent.
Yes.
Because Raid is awesome. I love the Raid. But there's a lot of martial arts, flips and melee weapons.
Sure,
that
this
I
is
don't
much more
think
bang,
RoboCop
bang,
would
bang.
have as much of.
Yeah. No kick flips from
Yeah,
this.
no.
It's a bang 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 bang.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And that's also why I said John Wick 1 and not 2, 3, and 4, which move further and further away from. I wonder
I'll
what
tell
the
you what,
name of that action genre would be.
I'll tell you
to
what.
wushu,
I'll tell you what, Jim.
gun fu.
You have been wanting to do a rant on John Wick 4.
No.
I'm gonna not now.
Okay.
We're going to wrap the episode up here.
Oh, okay.
But for those who aren't aware, we do extended episodes that are available through our Patreon. And what you will get to hear, well, beforehand, we did a whole section. I'm going to let you do, we're going to do your John Wick 4 takedown, breakdown
okay.
conversation after we wrap up here. But as we are wrapping up here, final thoughts here. Let's look at this. I do think that the big obstacles we face in trying to tell this story do come down to the social commentary aspects of this. We are touching on some very, very hot button issues here.
Sure.
We completely understand that, and it's so much gray. As much as you can look at things as black and white, and certain people are certainly within their rights to do so. Painting things so. I don't know. I don't want to play so much in the gray, but it's all just that social commentary and finding the right way to address these certain things. And it comes down to the satire of this. Because Granny with a shotgun, opening with that sort of element in this, that's fun in the right way for the kind of movie I would hope this could be.
Well, and other small things I would want to include that we didn't really talk about that the previous RoboCops did a good job of is showing even the media. So we would have like I don't know about commercials, but like cutaways of news footage and how the things that are happening in the movie are being portrayed in the media.
Yeah, how it's spun. I don't want like Sam Jackson as the Fox News talking head that we returned to a few times. That's such a single idea of how the media is spinning.
It was very prominent in 2014. I feel like, despite talking heads still being prominent, I feel like it's a little less now, or maybe I'm just a segment of the country that doesn't see enough of it.
No, there's more talking heads now than than like more so than 2014. It is way more pervasive than it ever has before. I'm giving you a look of like, do you remember our last elections?
Oh yeah. Well, I guess just the way that they did it with the whole O'Reilly Factor style studio doing holograms and stuff. I'm imagining like, and again, I wanna make it a bit more futuristic. So when they do like, I would do like a news feature about a shooter showed up at some innocent location, and our local citizens are good guys with guns were able to take him out before he killed too many people.
Good job, citizens.
Yeah, and then like, but then
making that the good news story of the day.
Yeah, and then they do like weird, stupid zoom-ins or even like interviews with those people, and they're like, "And what caliber did you use?"
Today I was packing.
Yeah, and you can buy that at a local
and
mart.
then it's all actually the whole news report is actually a commercial. I like that. I like especially showing like throughout this thing, throughout the movie, seeing ads, pop-ups, billboards, like TV clips like that, of different points of view as well, different political points of view. So you can see like flipping channels of the like, hey, this is great. Look what they did today, and then seeing the alternate opinion of like, look at the madness we live in. It's all burning down.
One of the other things I would like to establish early on, man, there's so much like it's weird to think how much Robocop can say when it's Robocop.
Yeah.
Right, like, so I know I said I wanted to say that the destitute areas they do have crime, but the people there just want to live in peace more than the suburban areas, which are all smiley and happy, but they're ready to shoot. One of the things I wanted to establish is with the other cops, like maybe when they're in their morning meeting or whatever, talking about what the patrols are going to do or showing cops patrolling, they are way more lenient on the suburbs, and way more strict and like short with the squatters,
and playing that to a ridiculous level in a way to amp up the satire
and having Murphy and Lewis sort of be our exceptions. When they go into the areas. They go in with this. I would say we establish they go in with this bias, but very quickly it's like, we're not immediately going to be in a firefight here. Whereas then when they end up in the suburbs, it's scary how fast it escalates.
Sure, that's almost in the execution of that, no pun intended, of the scripting it, but also the direction of it. Like, you're right. The escalation and how quickly it gets there in the blue collar area, or the white collar area versus blue. There's some fun to be had there, and even just discussing in the briefing of like, we had this happen and this is what we did, and then the exact same thing happens over there later, and they treat it much worse or better. Whew. Well,
this is going to end up being a 4-hour movie.
No, I think
you can jam a lot into scenes. Good filmmaking can do a lot of this.
Good. I looked to something. Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns does a good job of the satirical nature of looking at the media and how it spins Gotham City. Be good. And you mentioned Frank Miller's Hard Boiled as well. Boy, once upon a time, before that man became the insane person he became, had a lot of good perspective on that Reagan era of politics and media. So. But let's wrap it up here. Cammy, well, I mean, this is a big one, and you didn't think we'd do it, but here we are. I want to know what you guys think. Did we meet the demand? We hit a lot of buttons here, and
I don't know if we put them all in order properly, but I feel like all of the things are there.
I think there. Yeah. If we were asked if this did end up being our finale, and we'll see if this gets voted into that. The real challenge here is the commentary.
Yeah.
And I thank you for being willing to go there today. And ideally,
sure.
I'm sure there's some areas that we delved into that may have been a little touchy for some, but ultimately I'd like to think that as storytellers, we came in with the mindset of acknowledging those things. But I want to know, what do you think? Agree, disagree? How did we do? What did we miss? Because I know we missed something. You can message us directly at studiodemands.com or on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Studio Demands It. If you're not already, you can subscribe to us on any platform of your choice. And if you feel like giving us a review, you can do that in-app. And it actually really helps out the algorithm. Thank you for some of those who've been going out there. I won't say no to 5 stars, but any review is great. 5 stars would be great, though. You can get to me directly at TC's Big Head on Twitter. Jim is still not available through there, so there's just no way to find him.
None. Through this podcast.
You can also find us on YouTube and TikTok, where we are posting video content, including material not heard here on the show. And as mentioned earlier, we do have a Patreon for a couple whatevers a month, some woolons, if you will. You can get episodes early as well as extended double-length episodes. So as I mentioned, if you go to the double-length episode of this one, you're going to get to hear Jim's feelings on John Wick 4, as well as movie commentary tracks. We did one for the 2014 Robocop. Big, massive thank you to 6.5 Media for everything that they do for us. So please check out the other 6.5 show, AZP, Top Hat, Brothers-in-Law. There's a plethora of fan fixators. There's some great turn by turn. I'm trying to name them all. I'm sure I left one out. I should make a list. Anyway, what do you think, Jim? Is that it?
Dead or alive, we did the episode.
All right, that's it for this episode. We'll be back again soon with another of your demands to challenge to improve the world of cinema. I am TC.
Jimbo.
And that's the show, folks.